All right, guys, Kenny here. We have the Toro CCR2450. This is the shrapnel blower. Because if you notice, the paddles are totally destroyed. I've never seen paddles this bad. I mean, this is ridiculous. But if you look down here, you'll see the shrapnel damage. Yeah, I've never seen one like that. Don't know what he hit with it or whatever, but we're going to check this thing out. Okay, I bought a new metal piece for the back to cover that shrapnel one. Okay, otherwise I wouldn't be able to bolt the new scraper bar to it. Bought a kit, Amazonian. I'll put the link. You get the scraper bar, new paddles, hardware kit, and some other BS you don't really need. But just to show you guys, people say, when do I know how to replace my paddles? I mean, how do I know? There's a wear. See that hole? It's a wear hole. Okay, so basically when you buy these things, you have about 3/8 of an inch of usable life where it's supposed to work pretty good. Once you hit that hole, once this is gone, that's about time to think about replacing them. Once you can't see this hole anymore, yeah, it's too late. Time to replace. So just so you know, that's the way it's going to be. I'm going to mount you in the tripod. What I really want to do, since I know this guy beat the heck out of it, or his neighbor beat the heck out of it, somebody beat the heck out of it, I want to take apart and take off, all right, the whole assembly, the whole auger assembly. Take the side covers off, take the bearings off, just so I can see and make sure the bearings are good and everything else is good. It's pretty banged up, all right? It is pretty banged up. So I'm going to take that all apart and see what's going on. So on the sides, I'm going to take apart those screws on this side, and we'll expose the belt. So let me do that real quick. Hopefully you can hear me. I have my wireless mic on, so I'm hoping you can hear me good. All right. Wow, that's a long screw. Holy crap. Right. There's also a couple in the back here. Let me see. On the bottom. So there's one. There's two. Okay. Now we have those. We have these two up here, which are 3/8 on the inside and I think 7/16 on the outside. Do I still have you in focus here? Yeah. So let me grab a 7/16 socket real quick. That's one. These are really rusty. Man. Really rusty. Let me do the other one. Then that cover should come off. All right. Now, we'll see what it looks like. This one has a washer. Oh, let me spin that one out. All right. Okay, here comes cover. All right. Let's see what the belt looks like. Now, it's worn. Will it work? Yeah. Do I have spare belts? Yeah, I think I do, but let's see what she looks like. Oh, let me get you a good picture here. All right. Now, if I have the handle and I engage the belt, yeah, it engages pretty good. But if you notice, the belt's got a few cracks in it. I'll see if I have an exact belt for this. Otherwise, this one will work. I just have to adjust the tension, but nothing's broken in there. I was hoping nothing was broken here because I want to make sure everything is good inside there. But I am going to take off this auger assembly to make sure I can get to the paddles easily and go from there. So let me see if I'm in focus with you guys. All right. Now on this here, sometimes I'll look at the parts drawing and see what's in there. To take this off, you have to take the 7/16 off, and there's this washer in back of there, and you got to make sure that you don't lose that. Let me take that off. Because there's a washer in front like this, and I believe there's a washer in back. And you need those to space it properly. All right, so this is actually a Belleville washer, which means it's cupped and it acts like a spring to hold the pulley on. So lift up the tensioner. You can take the belt out. There's the belt. Take it out. Now let's pull this off. You got to lift up that tensioner. And that should come right off. And I want to make sure there's no washer in the back. All right. So in the back here. Now, no washer in the back. You got a bushing with a key in it. There is a key. And it looks like the key is built into the bushing. So what I'll do, I'll put this here, put the bolt back on it so I know where it goes. And I'll leave it like that. Okay. So now I've got the screws that hold the bearing on this side and the screws that hold the bearing on the other side. So I'm going to remove the screws that hold this side plate on, and I'm going to remove these 3 screws that hold the bearing on, and I'm going to take out the auger assembly because it's easier to put the paddles on when the auger assembly is off. So let me just take those off. I'm going to take these 3 off. I'll take the ones off on the other side. And let's see, this cover looks like it has a few more screws in it. So actually, this side cover here on the side has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws in it. All right, I don't know if I need to take them all off, but I'm gonna. But here's a trick I'm gonna do, guys. This is what I do. Let me show you. If you notice on this side, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws. Now, I know maybe you don't need to take them all off. I'll start with taking off a few of them. I think you have to take them all off, but I'm going to get a piece of cardboard. I'm going to draw a little picture of this on there, and I'm going to put the screws exactly where they're going to cardboard, so I don't have to look back at the video and remember where they are. All right, so let me grab a piece of cardboard and a Sharpie, and we'll be right back. All right, guys, let me explain what I've done so far. I took off the side cover. You saw that. I want to take off the auger so I can put on the paddles, okay? So there were 5/16 headed screws that have 3/8 nuts on them. So you can use a 5/8 impact and a 3/8 wrench. Take those off. The other side, a little bit different. The other side had these carriage bolts that use 7/16 nuts. So all you need is a 7/16 driver. But then once I did that, it exposed this 9/16 headed screw, which is retaining the auger onto the bearing. So you take this out, the bearings will pop out from each side, the auger will pop out, then I'll have the auger free, and I can put the paddles in and look to see how I'm going to remove this piece. So let me remove this screw here, take out the paddle and augers and all that, and let's see what we got. All right, so this 9/16 bearing, here's the cap that goes over it, and there was also a rubber seal that was underneath it to seal grease in the bearing. I don't think you really need that because they're sealed bearings. But anyway, I'll take out the 9/16 screw, which is the retainer with a washer to hold the auger shaft onto the bearing ID race. All right, so that's important. All right, so now that that's out, I can pop the bearing out. There's one bearing. It'll leave, there's a cup in there, okay? And that cup locates the bearing. All right, so in this case, let's see, I want to pull out, let's see, all right, I'm gonna pop that out. Let's pop all this out of here. All right, and then I can pull it out. So now that bearing mount, the cup for the bearing, I'm going to put that with that. Here's some junk that he ran over. I'm going to clean it off. Now, there's a washer here. a thrust washer. Don't forget that. That's the spacer for the inner bearing. All right, so I'm going to put that in the magnetic tray just so I don't forget it. All right, but that is important. All right, so take all that stuff off. All right, now let's look on the other side of the auger. The other side of the auger, I got a bearing as well. That bearing pops off, but you also have a washer. So the washer goes on first, then the bearing. That spaces out the bearing what you need in order to space it correctly. Okay, so now I'm left with the auger with the destroyed paddles. All right, so I'm gonna remove all the screws. I have a brand new screw kit that came with it. You've got your auger here. You know that the keyed shaft side of the auger goes to the right. I'm going to take off these auger paddles. I'm going to install the new ones. I'll be back in a few minutes and I'll show you how I do that. All right, guys. Basically, the hardware on these, it's a carriage bolt. And it's got a 7/16 nut on one side. So the carriage bolt will keep it still. You just got to take the 7/16 nylock nut off. So I'm going to take all these nylock nuts off, clean up this shaft, and then we'll be able to put on the new paddle. This paddle is destroyed, my gosh. All right, let me clean that all up, take off all these screws. I'll be back with the new hardware kit. All right, guys, here's a good piece of the shrapnel. Look at that. That's what it's supposed to look like. There it is. Don't ask me how he did it. So what I need to do is I need to take off these 3 carriage bolts because they don't give you these in any kit. Hopefully they'll be fine. I have to figure out how that mounts. It looks like it's just some screws from underneath, but it's hidden by the top cover, the red cover. So I'm gonna have to take that cover off. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take off those carriage bolts off the bottom so I have a way to mount the new scraper bar. So let me see, I believe that's 7/16 underneath. Let me see. 7/16. I should have that somewhere. Oh, yes I do. All right, there's 7/16. Now, if God's on my side, they should come off. Aha. All right, carriage bolt. This has a washer with a crimped on star type locking washer. I gotta remember to save these. So I'll put these 3 in this dish over here. That doesn't want to come off so easy. Let's see if the last one will come off. There we go. All right, so I have the hardware for that. The fun part, now I'll have to take off the top of the machine to get to the bolts that attach this thing. That sucker doesn't want to come out so easy, so I'm gonna have to tap it. All right, let me put this on the ground. Let me take off the top cover, access the holes in the bottom so I can put that new plate on. I'll be right back. All right, this panel here, you have your wear edge, okay? Your wear edge basically clips it underneath, all right? And then you have your space for your 3 carriage bolts. I'm gonna pre-assemble this thing because it's easier to do when it's off the machine. All right. So your carriage bolts go in. All right. Make sure you engage the square in the carriage bolt. Put your nut on. These are 7/16. And I will suck them down with the impact. Can you see me? I just want to make sure I got you in focus here. Yeah, there we are. Okay. I'm just putting on the 3/4 bolts that secure the scraper bar. All right, reusing them because they don't come in the kit. Put the carriage in. 7/16 lock nut on the back. And on these, looking at the front of the machine, that extra lip is to the right always. There's quite a few screws that hold this piece on, but it appears as if they are available without having to take too much of the machine apart. So that's a good thing. That is a good thing. All right, so got the piece ready. The new wear edge is on there. All right, and just to show you, here's the old wear edge. And if you notice, look at this side here. All right, as you're pushing the snow thrower, the right side, for whatever reason, on snow throwers, snow plows, whatever, the right side as you're walking always wears faster. But this thing is, look at this, trash, it's gone. All right, if you look at the new one, all right, yeah, it's pretty much destroyed. So replace it. We're gonna put that new piece on. I'm gonna get underneath here. We'll get you focused. Let's see. We have got, let me lower the lower the camera a little bit. All right, we've got that piece underneath, and basically you have screw and nuts there, and 1, 2, 3, 4 on the top. Then it looks like you got a couple on the side as well. So there's quite a few screws that hold this thing on. So I'm gonna take all these screws out and hopefully get this sucker back on. So I'll be back in a few minutes. Let me figure out how all these screws come out. All right, the wireless mic fell off my jacket. I don't know where the hell it went. It went somewhere. Maybe I'll find it, I don't know. The clip fell off, the microphone went flying, I don't know. Hopefully the sound is good. All right, the way they put this piece on, you got your 2 screws that are here, 1 and 2, half inch on either side, okay? 1/2 inch bolt head, 1/2 inch nut head. Then you got a bunch of screws over here. You take these off, these are 7/16 nuts, they look like this. You take off these off the 2 studs, then you pull this cover off. Cover comes right off. Now you can access all the screws that hold this metal plate on, okay? So I'm gonna take off these screws, take off that metal plate, and put the other one back on. Basically 7/16, and on the top here, it looks like it's either 7/16 or 3/8. So I'm gonna take off these screws. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. I'm gonna take those off. A couple screws on the side. I'm gonna take those off, 7/16 as well. Then I'm gonna remount the new metal piece. The 2 screws I took off the back end here initially to get the side cover off also attach this metal plate. So I'll be back in a few minutes with those screws off and the new plate ready to tighten. All right guys, old versus new. You can see the shrapnel. Don't ask me how he did it. I don't know how he did it. Blew holes in it, who knows? But here's the new one, old. Let's see, there's old. There's new with the wear edge. Ready to go on. So what I do, I line up all my screws as they came off, left to right, and there's the far left screws that have the bracket. So I'm just gonna put them back on to there with the new piece, exactly how I took them off. That's why I like using a foam kneeling pad. You can use it to put your bolts and everything on there and keep them situated where you know where they go. That way they go on nice and easy. All right, all 7/16, top and bottom. washers on all of them, lock nuts on all of them. I'm going to put that back together. I'm going to re-bend this end, which is all bent to crap. Put it back on there, and then we'll have to get on putting on the new paddles. All right, I'll be back in a few minutes. All right, guys, all the bolts are in. You got the 2 side bolts there. You can see the 2 there. You got the 2 on this side, and you got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over there. One thing I noticed though, this piece was on the ground. This is part of the bracket, all right, and it was actually snapped off. It actually goes like this, but it was snapped off from who knows when he destroyed this. You're not going to need it. It's supported. It'll be fine. So now we take the cover, we stick the cover on. That keeps everything from getting dirty. Okay, you can see that cover. It goes on, keeping everything from getting dirty. And then you put on these to hold on that. All right, so we'll sock those on. We'll sock those on, and then we'll be able to flip it up and start working on the auger. But everything under here is done. This piece is done. These are connected. All 5 are connected. The nuts are connected. So the bottom is done. The wear plate is done. That's all done. Now all we need to do is get to the auger. Be right back. All right, guys, we are done with the new metal backing plate. We're done with the wear edge. That's all done. This side that was bent, I straightened it out. So now we got to attack the auger with the new paddles. All right, so I'll take a break for now because I got to go get ready for my stream, and then we'll be back and we'll do this. Hey everybody, Kenny here, Ken Small Engines. I'm working on this Toro CC2450. We got the whole back all done. Videos coming out for this pretty soon, but I started working on the auger. I just want to show you, when you buy one of these kits that come with the paddles and all the hardware and everything else, don't throw out the old hardware, and I'll tell you why. See the difference? The shoulder on the ones that you get in the kit, look how small that shoulder is. See how big that shoulder is on there? Well, if you look at the new paddles, all right, if you look at that new paddle, this new hardware, yeah, loose as a goose. The old hardware fits nice and snug. So just be careful when you're buying these auger paddle kits for the Toro blowers, the 2-stroke blowers. This one just happens to be a 2450. Save all the old hardware, because in this case, 2 different sizes, I needed it. If I used that one there, it'd be flopping all over the place. That one fits nice and snug, so don't throw away the old hardware. Keep it, because you might need it. All right, just a quick tip, guys. We'll talk to you soon. When I'm putting on these paddles, I use a clamp, like an Irwin, so I can clamp the paddle onto the auger so I can get the screw in. Once you get the screw in a few threads, you can unclamp it, use the Torx wrench on the other side, and a 7/16, or actually in this case I think it's a 10 millimeter, and tighten them up. All right, we'll be back in 1 second. All right, guys, we're on the paddles now. I don't have the wireless mic. I'm close to the camera, so hopefully the video is good. All right, we put this one on, and as I stated in another video, I did a short video, don't throw away the old fasteners. The ones that came in the kit, the shoulder was too small. You really want a tight fit to the holes in the paddles. Save the old ones, because I'm using the old ones. Just a tip. All right, I start out with the paddle. I started in the center with it. I attached the bolts, the spacers, and the nuts. It's a 10 millimeter on the screw. It's a 3/8 on the nut. The bushing goes in between as a stiffener so you don't collapse it. So let me grab that paddle, and we'll go from there. All right, here's a new paddle. So what I'm gonna do, you're also gonna need T27 and 7/16 ratchet or wrench. All right, let's start it. Just make sure you're in the shot here. Are you good? Yeah, you're good. All right, so we're gonna start with one assembly, which is a bushing, a screw, a bushing, and a nut. So what I do is I put these two in one way, I put the other two in the other way. I mean, it sort of balances it in my mind. I mean, I'm into all that fancy stuff, balancing, why not? All right, so stick in the first one. Stick the screw in there. All right, start the nut. And what I'll do is I'll start these, but I won't finish them until all the screws are in. Gives me a little bit of play back and forth on the paddle. So if I need a little bit of play, I have it. All right, so let's throw the other bushing in. All right, we're gonna stick up the screw. Start the nylock nut. And like I said, leave them loose because you may need that extra space when you're tightening these things. Okay, so now we have that in there and we have to put the paddles in. So in this case, the paddles are gonna go this way. So flop them over. And the paddles are gonna go in the holes on the side here. You have two on the side here and two on the side there. Make sure I still got you in frame. All right. So I use a clamp to help me because sometimes these are little buggers trying to get them in the hole. So you put the first one in, it'll fit nice. Let me see if I can get a good shot here. All right. You have to stick it up through the hole like that. That one's fairly easy, so I can just put the nut in there and be done with that one. All right. That one was simple. Start the nut, don't tighten it, just start it. And like I said, a lot easier to do this when it is out of the machine. You try and do this when it's in the machine, oh my gosh. Getting the wrenches in there and everything, what a pain in the butt. All right, the second one, stick in the bolt. Let's see if it lines up. Yeah, it lines up pretty good. See if I can push it through enough to get a few threads started. And like I said, if you can't get a few threads started, use a clamp. Clamp the paddle up, get some pressure on it. Usually you can push it in, there you go, to get a couple more threads engaged. All right, that was easy. All right, that's that side. Now we're gonna do the same for the other side. All right. We'll start with the top one. Actually, we'll start with the back one. All right. As you can see, the back one, in focus. Yeah, the back one went in pretty good. Start the nut. Don't tighten them yet. You want to make sure you're good. Sometimes it takes 6 hands to push it through. There we go. And start the nut. Again, much easier to do when it's out of the machine. There we go. All right, that one is started. Now we got the last one. And once we get the last one in, the rest is tightening, and tightening is the easy part. All right, so let's get this sucker up here. Oh, hear the helicopter? Yeah, here's a Black Hawk. I'm in the flight path. Well, we build them during the day and they fly over my house at night. All right, now if we got you in focus, let's get this one in here. All right, we got them all started now, okay? So now, the easy part comes. For these, you got a 10 millimeter and you got 3/8 on the other side, so you snug those down. For these, you have a T27 on one side and a 7/16 on the other. So I'm just gonna start snugging these things down. Oh, correction. 10 millimeter here, 3/8 here. So let me get a 3/8 wrench. Can you see that, guys? I just want to make sure you can see it. Yeah, you can see it. 10 millimeter here, 3/8 on the back. You don't want to tighten these too tight because these are Chinese screws. They say 8.8 on them for the hardness class. I don't know if I believe it. You just want to make sure the nylock is engaged on the nylock nut so the bolt won't loosen and fall out. Don't go too tight, you're going to snap the bolts. How do I know that? Trust me, they will snap. All right, those are done. Now we got to get the ones on the end. Now the ones on the end, as I told you, T27, and on the back side, I believe it's a 10 millimeter. Let me see what we got here. There's a 7/16. It is 7/16. Okay, so T27, 7/16. All right, can you see everybody? Yeah, I hope you can see. All right, I'm going to use my impact because the impact works really well on these. If you start it with the impact, sometimes they'll start and you don't even need the T27. But the ones on the very end here, if you can see, the ones right here on the very end, the nut driver won't get in all the way, so sometimes you have to go and use a wrench with the T27. All right. So 7/16, T27 Torx. You don't want to go too far in, you just want to make sure this fastener is flush or slightly below. Then you're all set. All right, I'm going to tighten the rest of these up. Take me a couple minutes. Then I'll be back with you on the auger housing. We're going to mount this auger onto it. Then we're going to see if she works. So we'll be back shortly. Just another quick note. Some of these kits that come with the hardware for the center comes with a new center bolt. This one didn't. This one didn't come with that center screw, which is a longer screw. But that's okay. That center screw holds the center paddle mount in. The ones that come with it, you don't have to take it off. In this case, I didn't take it off, but sometimes if you want to replace it, this is two pieces, it'll fall apart. Just remember how it goes back together, guys. All right, we got the auger. Let's throw her back into the CCR2450, hook her up, put the bearings on, get her running, and get this thing back to the owner. Be right back. All right, everybody, we're in the home stretch here. All right. We got the auger we got to put back in the housing. We got the new plate on. We got the new scraper bar on. Our auger assembly is all set. The one side with the keyway goes to the right side. So we've got our parts lined up. What I do is I line my parts up in a tray. All my bearings to the right, bearings to the left, everything is ready to go. All right. So I'll start with the left-hand side. All right, now on the left-hand side, you have a cup to hold the bearing. That's what the bearing goes in. And let's see, it's a little full of schmutz. All right, we'll wipe it out a little bit. All right, the left-hand bearing feels good. Feels good. A little bit of dirt on it. Let me get that dirt off. There's a lot of grease and stuff. All right, get that off of there. Stick the bearing in its cup. All right, that's what locates it. And we will stick the cup in. All right. What I'll do on the other end, the way this works, each end of the shaft has to have one of these spacers. So I'll make sure I put one on each end. All right. And what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to hook the bearing up to the right side. I'm going to put the bearing on. And I'm going to take the bearing mounting cup, I'm going to stick it on. All right, so now I got the auger, I got this bearing over here is ready to go. Got the bearing over there ready to go. Now I'm going to stick it in. All right, so we'll stick that, and the bearing pops out, that's all right. So I'm going to stick the auger shaft in this end. I'm going to pry back on this end. And then I'll stick the auger shaft on this end. Sometimes this is a pain in the butt to do. You have to spread the housing, but it's usually not too bad. Let's see. Ooh, let's try it this way. We'll take the mount. We'll stick the mount on. We'll put the spacer with the bearing. You know what, it might be easier to take it out the other way. Let me see. There's a couple of ways to do this. All right, if I put it in this side first, it's the longest side. So if I put it in that side first, yeah, that's a lot easier. Okay. Now I stick in this side. Yeah, that's the way to go. Right side first, people. Right side first. All right. That's the way to do it. Right side first, then left side. Okay. What I'm going to do, let me move the camera so you can see what I'm doing. All right. All right, let's move it down here. Yeah, go on the right side first, that makes it easier. All right, I got the bearing mount over here. I'm going to push that in. I've got my spacer for the bearing. I'm going to stick that on the shaft because that goes on before the bearing. Then the bearing slips on into the mounting cup. Make sure there's no dirt on there. All right, so the bearing is in the bearing cup, and I'll show you that over here. You can see the bearing is in the bearing cup. What this thing had on it was a little grease seal that went on like that with some grease on it. I'll put it in there. I don't think it needs it, but I'll put it in there. All right. And it had this cover piece with the grease seal, just like that. All right. Then it had oh, sorry. One more important thing before we put this on. The retaining screw. Can't forget the retaining screw and washer. That's 9/16. Gotta have that on there. Can't forget that. All right, let me get a ratchet so I can screw in that bearing retainer. See, sometimes you forget what you're working on and how things go, and that's why you got to lay out your parts to make sure you have all your parts. All right, so we got the 9/16 socket set up. We're going to hold the auger shaft and we're going to tighten up that bearing retainer bolt. Once the bearing retainer bolt is tight, then we can tighten up the 3 nuts on the end. Easy to forget what goes where, people. That's why you got to keep track. That's why I use cardboard. All right, let's get this end on here. Okay, now we can put the end cap on. Let's get that bearing in there. All right. Now we can put the 3 nylock nuts on there. And let's make sure we know the size of these nylock nuts. They are 7/16. All right, that side is done. All right, it's spinning good. All right, so over on this side, actually, you know what, folks? I put this in wrong. This cup that I put on the inside is supposed to go on the outside. See that? I should have looked back at the video. Hey, I screw up like everybody else. Let me take this cup out of this side, put it on the outside. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Sorry about that. All right, we're ready for the auger to go back in. So on this side here, the right side where the key is, all right, we have the bearing cup. There's a spacer washer in back of the bearing and the bearing. On this side, we have the bearing cup. I haven't put the bearing or the spacer washer back in yet. I'll do that after I install. So let's get you mounted in the tripod here. And what you do is you do the right side first, and then the left side should slip in. All right, so we do the right side first. All right, get the right side in, and the left side should fall in. Almost like you need 3 sets of hands. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, probably easier to show you this side right now so I can stabilize it. All right, here's the right-hand side. The only thing that holds this right-hand side in right now is 3 screws and 3 nuts. They're 5/16 head on one side with 3/8 nuts on the inside. So let me just get those started here. And once I get those started, I said 5/16 on the outside with 3/8 lock nuts on the inside. I'll get those started, and then we'll put the other side together, and then we'll tighten everything up. All right. So a little tricky getting your hands in there to get these things. Let's line her up. There we go. Little tricky. Be nice if I had smaller hands, but you know what? It is what it is. All right. So the 5/16 headed screw, the 3/8 lock nut. Get that started. And the last one. Let's get that going here. There we go. Move the impeller out of the way so I can get my hands in here. Still not the easiest with normal size hands. This one's a pain in the butt. I'm gonna hold a nut with a pair of pliers because it's a pain in the butt. You can't really get your hand in there. So let me hold the nut in there and I will thread the fastener into the nut. And we'll go from there. Yeah, it's like you need 6 hands for this thing. Oh, nope, that didn't work. You need very, very little hands to get in there. I'm just trying to hold this nut with a pair of pliers, but you're working almost blind. Let me see if I can get that in there. Nope, almost. There we go. All right. Okay, those are all started. So at this point, let me finish them. 5/16 from this side, 3/8 on that side. So let me get a 5/16 bit for my gun. I'll get a 3/8 wrench to hold the nuts, and then we should be good to go. Don't go too tight, impact, you don't want to strip anything. All right. Start with my favorite one right here. All right. Get the second one. And the third one. All right, this side's done. Let's move to the other side. You can see that side is now done. All the lock nuts and everything tight, ready to go. This side here, we just have to put her back together. All right, then once we do that, we will go to the pulley, the belt, the cover, and then we're done. All right, spacer goes on. You have to have the spacer washer. All right, the bearing goes on. All right, goes in like that. The cover with your little seal that's in there, that goes on. Let me start one of the screws, or one of the nuts. Okay. Get the other one going. There's 2. And the third one. All right, those will get started by hand. And are those 3/8? Nope, 7/16. All right, let's get the 7/16 bit. There we go. One, 2, 3. All right, now here we go, fellas. We have our snowblower with new auger paddles, new back plate, new wear edge, and right now the distance between that new plate and the auger, very minimal, literally about 1/16 of an inch. So that's going to scrape the snow really good off of the pavement. If you notice the bearings, they're beautiful. That's the way it's going to go, and it's going to whip that snow right up there. All right, let's get back to the business end, and we'll finish this thing up. All right, now the only thing we have to do here is put on the pulley. Oh, we did it again, folks. We forgot that 9/16 screw that goes on the end of this thing here. Well, just goes to show I make mistakes like everybody else. Yes, I do. That's a retainer for the bearing. You need that. So we need that. You need that 9/16 headed screw. Hey, I make mistakes like everybody else. All right. Okay. We take off the cover. We take the nut. Not the screw, 9/16 head. We tighten her up. That secures the bearing. And then we can put that cover back on. Hey, I make mistakes just like the next guy. All right, ready? All right, tight. Cover. Let's put that cover plate back on. All right. Get those nuts started. Hope my head's not in the way. All right, and the last one, we'll start that one. All right. Okay, now let's send them home. Okay, now we're done with this side. Spin it, bingo. Come over to this side. Let's put that pulley on, button her up, start her up, and let's see what we got. All right. So we got the pulley. It's got a key on it built in. So the key, there's actually a mark on the washer where the key is. So let's get that in the right spot. Let's take the belt off for now so we can get to play with this thing. All right, so pulley's over here. Let's get that key engaged. We gotta lift this up. All right, key is engaged. We'll start that screw. It's got nylock on it. Let's get the belt back on. All right. That's a 7/16. All right, so we have our belt. Let's check our engagement. Make sure the belt's going to engage. I still got a good shot of you. Yes, I do. All right, engage. There we go. We engage it, and it's going to run. All right, I'm going to put this on the ground now. I'm done with everything except putting on the side cover. So at this point, I can tighten up. There's a screw in here and tighten up. Do I still have you in shot? Yeah, there's a screw here. I'll tighten this up because this, I don't have to worry about this anymore. I got 3/8 on one side, 7/16 on the other. Let me get that tight. Oh, can't go too tight because the socket, my impact socket isn't deep enough, so we'll go 7/16. Put the wrench on here. Get this back together. Okay, that's back together. Let's put this on the ground. Let's start her up. Let's see how she engages. Then I can call the customer and say, give me my money. There we go. Now the customer told me this thing ran perfect, ran great. I haven't tried starting it yet. So I'm gonna put it in frame so you can see the belt. All right. We'll get that turn on. Let's see where you are in frame. All right. All right, so we got everything on but the side cover. The engagement works. It looks like we're engaged okay. It's got fuel in it, ignition on. I'm gonna put the choke on, prime it. Let's see what we got. More prime. I say that's a win-win, people. Runs good, it engages good, it stops when you shut it off. I'm gonna put that side cover back on, put the back cover on the bottom, and I'm done. So that's it. You saw I screwed up a little bit. I forgot a nut or bolt or thing once in a while, had some things backwards and forwards, and hey, I make mistakes like everybody else, but hopefully I showed you how to put that tin plate on the back, new wear edge, put your auger paddles in, put it all back together. And now we got a happy customer. The thing looks like brand new in front because it is all brand new. All right, let me get these covers back on. We will talk to you guys soon. Any questions? Let me know in the comments. Please subscribe. Helps the channel. Doesn't cost you anything. And we will talk to you soon.